Yeah, we see if you want. Brother-in-law's mom passed away. It just sits way too long. So more than
everyone. Thank you guys for coming out to the membership meeting. The National this year, over 5,800 birds, which is a great turnout. We appreciate all the entries. You know, there's been some unfortunate weather incidents. All 5,800 plus won't be here, but we do appreciate everyone who did travel and go through whatever they needed to go through to make it. We're going to start with the Secretary Treasurer's report. So, Tim, would you?
Passed out the income and expense report for 2023, the first, but so balance at the end of December is 154,216.82. The general fund, the junior fund has about 11,000 in that. We paid $3,000 last year in junior scholarships to two award winners. We also bought some show pins this last year using legacy trust funds. Those were show pins we needed for smaller breeds, like some of the doves and the figuritas that could walk right through the wires of the other pins, and so we got Kuiper to build us, or to make us some of those, and so we spent $1,364 on that. You know, the bands are the lifeblood of our organization. Memberships pay some, and we get some advertising money from the quarterly review, different things like that. You know, we get a lot of revenue when we put on a Grand National like this, but a lot of that revenue goes right back out the door in the expenses to run a Grand National. So those are a lot of times break-even propositions. This year we'll probably actually lose a little bit of money on this Grand National, which is okay. I mean, we have a nice balance in the bank. band sales were down just a little bit last year. I know there's a lot of options these days. People can buy bands overseas very easily. I would encourage people to buy NPA bands, because then you know the money from that sale is going to promote the pigeon hobby in the United States. It's not just going to the pocket of some band dealer in China or wherever. Okay, so yes, we end up having to buy our bands from China or Germany. We bought them from Bulgaria before, different places like that. But you know, we have to spend money on that. But the money above what we pay for them goes into the American pigeon hobby for all the things we do, putting on the grand nationals, the promotional stuff we do throughout the country, printing our magazine, all those kind of things. So I would encourage you to encourage people to think about that before they go a cheaper route. I know they can buy bands cheaper directly from places overseas or online. Before they do that. One other thing on there, there was one other thing we had on the expenses last year. You might notice quarterly review printing and mailing was for 5 issues. That was because the 2022, the last issue of 2022 ran a little late last year, and so the expenses for that issue basically came in January of 2023, and so then we had the 4 issues of 2023. So we actually had expenses for 5 issues, even though we only did 4 issues. So don't want there to be any confusion about that. Not miss an issue. You know, so anybody has any questions about any of it, I'll be happy to answer. Great.
Quick question on the band sales.
Yes.
Is there any particular size that seems to be drastically reduced in sales?
The 8s were down last year,
8s? Yeah.
and the 7s were down, and the 11s were down. Those were the noticeable ones. 10s, 6.5s were actually up. 10s were about the same. 12s have been going up a little bit. We don't sell a whole lot of 12s. 13s and 14s stayed right about the same. And the 9s, I think, were about the same. The 8s were the ones that were down the
These
most.
are the most typical size.
Right, and that's also the one size that a lot of these other places, if they make any pigeon bands, they'll make a size 8 because it can fit so many sizes, so many breeds. It can fit homers and things like that. People buy them for white homer, dummies, and stuff like that. But the other thing about that is, if they buy bands from someplace like that, I get these calls and emails every single day. Sometimes 10 to 15 calls and emails every day. People found a bird in their yard. People found a bird, came in their garage or whatever, found their school. We have no way to track those things. And I just have to tell them, I don't have any way to track it. You'll have to find somebody locally that can take it. We're not a rescue organization that has people that can go out and get them. So if they're buying NPA bands, we have a way to track them and get them in touch with you.
Is there any geographic location that has a problem, say with 8s, just talking about 8s, East Coast, West Coast?
I haven't noticed a
Anything
trend geographically. Yes, sir.
Is there a ruling for the NPA National that you should have either NPA bands or CPFA, AUIF, whatever your birds are?
There's supposed to be NPA bands. Yes, there is. There's supposed to be NPA bands.
And I have racing homers and I put them in the show with AU bands.
A number of years.
They're automatically. It kicks it right back out. So it's really easy to track. We don't have that means to do that, other than visual. One of the things we don't do, when we enter our band number on your form, you don't put NPA, IF, whether you put a band number, 4044. Perhaps we should put the nomenclature on there as well, when we do our entry, you get it in.
be a way to do that. I guess some people would skirt that just by putting NPA in front of it if they found that out, but, you know, we do need to be aware of that and be on the lookout for that and try to.
You can buy that same NPA band from China with NPA printed on it on eBay. You can print whatever you want to on the exact same band that look exactly like the one you provide with NPA. And it can say, and you can have it say NPA.
Right.
You don't have any way to know whether it's a counterfeit band or sold to you.
Well, I can look at my database in that
Right.
instance, and I would probably be able to tell.
Right.
But you're right, there's only a couple of band manufacturers that we're aware of around the world that make a number of different sizes. The manufacturers in China, which are all tied together basically, the one in Germany, and then there's one in Bulgaria that makes the plastic bands that go the same color scheme as the European color scheme. But you're right, people have ways of getting around these things. But I just want to make you aware that that is a huge, that's our main revenue stream. So if that goes away, we don't really have an organization. It'd be very tough to do any of the stuff we do without that. Yeah, Roger.
So does the NPA have a set schedule of what colors you're gonna use as bands, or do you just kinda go, oh, we like this one this year, and
Johnny and I say, oh, we like this one.
because like in Germany, they only have 5 colors, and when the 5th one comes around again, you can't show that pigeon because it'll be a young bird.
Well, what's kind of happened the last few years is, you know, we changed to these metal bands that we have right now. We went away from the plastic coated bands because some of those were cracking, especially on larger breeds. The plastic would come off, fall off, and you're left with just a metal band, metal ring with nothing on it. So we were having some issues like that. Plastic bands, people didn't prefer them as well as the metal bands, and so we've gone to the metal bands. So we've been kind of, but I say that to say they give you a set list of colors that they have available in these metal bands. They have about 16 or 17 colors, but not all of them show up the lettering very well, such as we found out in 2023. Those green ones, when you looked at them on the color palette that they give you on the computer, they look fine. When you get them in your hand, and even the sample they sent me looked fine. But the ones that they actually manufactured were much more shiny, and so when you look at them, trying to look at them in the light, you can't hardly read the things. So that's obviously a color when they're used. We're trying to get colors that are easy to read, you know, the lettering and the numbers stand out so that you can see what you're doing with the birds.
Yeah,
But they don't have the standard European colors like the plastic bands they do.
we're all getting a little older, so those bands are getting a little harder to read.
Right. Well, we're well aware of that, and we're trying to
Help us out, yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to help you out with that. We did okay with the red ones, we did okay with the purple ones, we did fine with the blue ones, the green ones, not so much. Anything else? All right, I'll pass it back to Jen.
Thank you, Tim. We'll move on to old business, which right now, I think, Tim, we're fairly close to having that out.
We are really close.
Just couldn't have it for here.
Yeah, we ran into several hiccups with that, a number of hiccups actually. You know, Gary had a lot of work to do just to get the book ready. Roger helped with that. He's on the standards committee. Art Carty did a lot of work with that. We did a lot of re-editing. But then when we got the book ready to print, it's such a thick book, they had to actually get different machinery or different drill bits or whatever to drill the holes in that thick of a book. Something, kind of things we wouldn't even think about. But when you're doing that kind of stuff, you know, you run into these things that you don't expect. So it is actually, they're changing, they should start printing them, I'm thinking they're gonna start printing like next Monday, because they wanted to go ahead and change the dates from 23 to 24, since now we've run into 24, and Gary, can tell you about that, he's already talked to our printer about that, and so the binders are in the process of being made, the book is gonna be in the process of being actually printed in the next week, 2 weeks, so hopefully we'll have it all together by early February or so.
And Ken, what are you projecting the sale price to be?
Johnny,
We haven't gone over that yet, we have to get our cost, and then once we have our cost, then we'll work, the board will come up with the price. All right, so under old business, that's pretty well what we've got. Under new business, obviously the next national will be in Oklahoma City next year. Also, this is an election year for half of the board, the president, and one of the vice presidents. What I will do now is list the board members who will be on the ballot. You will choose 5. The ballots will come out in July. Charles Hanna, Amy Klopman, Cameron Jatanigan, Larry Wilms, Melinda Jackson, Roger Hanson, Brad Stuckey, and Brian Freeman. So we will have write-ups in the quarterlies coming up, I'm sure, from the candidates, and the election will be held in July. As far as election commissioner goes, we've had one person nominated, Greg Pola, to be the election commissioner. He has agreed, but he must be elected by the membership. So, is there anyone else who would like to nominate someone?
I'd make a motion to accept Greg.
Well, we have to.
For a motion to put more people on the ballot?
No.
That's done, that's done already?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there anyone else who would like to nominate another person to be the election commissioner? Okay, so Greg Capp made a motion that we accept Greg Pola as election commissioner. All in favor by a show of hands or aye? Aye. Opposed? Okay, Greg Pola will be the election commissioner. Next, we need nominations for one of the vice president positions. So it would be myself and Ed. So do we have any nominations for president?
I nominate John DeCarlo Jr., President, Ed Pointer, Vice President.
Okay, is there any other nominations for president before we get to?
Come on.
Okay. Is there any other nominations for vice president?
Really, come on.
I move that nomination cease.
Let's give them
Well, let's give somebody make us a nomination. Okay. Anybody? Okay, so you've made a motion that nominations cease.
Is it part of the bylaws that nominations from the floor also be made for directors and so on?
No, that was changed in Myrtle Beach. So the executive
I thought it
board.
was from the floor.
No, the executive board chooses the slate of directors. So the current executive board chooses the slate of directors. And that was voted on by the membership in Myrtle Beach, and that was the constitutional change at that meeting.
Not exactly how I remember it, but we'll confirm.
Yeah, it's in.
It's in the Constitution, that's on the website.
It was in the bylaws? Was that one of the
No,
bylaws?
it was a
It
constitutional.
was a constitutional
But it's,
amendment, yeah.
the correct Constitution's on the website that says that?
I would hope that that's been updated. That was.
Couldn't find it.
Well, then we will have to get that updated because that was passed in Myrtle, I remember in Myrtle Beach when we passed that. And the board did pass the membership did pass the constitutional amendment.
I confirm that we did make some major changes, wholesale changes
And that
at
was.
Myrtle Beach.
Yes.
Specifically verbal, exactly point by point. It's not on the website. I think it might have been published in the quarterly once.
Okay, well, we will
But I'm not sure
definitely
if it's
have
ever
to
been-
update the website to the proper.
I'm not sure if it's on the website correctly.
Okay, well, we will definitely have to update that, and I will talk to your son, Jeff, who does our website. Okay, so you made a motion that nominations cease second? I second. Joel Kincaid seconds, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. Great. Okay, one thing, tomorrow I wanted to mention now before I forgot, so, Dr. Oker Botha is here from South Africa, really knowledgeable veterinarian, and he will be having a seminar here in this room tomorrow at 11 and another one at 1 o'clock. Very informative on a lot of pigeon diseases. He's started 2 companies, I believe, well-known companies that a lot of us use, MedPet and Aviomed. So he will be doing a seminar in here tomorrow. He'll also be doing a seminar on Saturday in this room. So I do want to mention that. Anything else under new business? This is where we open it up to the floor. Any questions, concerns, comments? We've sort of done it as we've gone along. One thing I do want to mention too, the junior program, the team of the Mefford family and Noah Shields and Andrew, there's some really great, they're really doing some great things, and there's a lot of new programs. And next year we will be changing our entry form so we know exactly who the junior exhibitors are. So these guys can contact them ahead of time. We know how many there are. Right now we don't have anything that denotes that on the entry blank, but we will get that changed. Junior auction is obviously Saturday like normal. But I would recommend everyone go over there and take a look at what these guys are doing, because it's really, really great for the hobby and for the junior program. We appreciate all the work all you 3 have done all year. So, okay, we will open the floor for any more comments, questions, concerns.
Whenever you're ready. No, whenever you're ready.
Greg?
Alright. First, thanks to all the board members for the hard work you guys been doing over the last few years. You've kept the NPA going, that's first and foremost. The next thing is, I'd like to make it a standard procedure that the membership meetings at the, here are typically either videoed one way or the other, so that other people around the country can enjoy or understand what's happening, why it's happening, and get some information. I would also follow up with the same thing on the directors meetings. Typically, you guys over the years have done conference calls.
Right.
But now you can do Zoom meetings, Zoom or Teams or any other type of meeting, video type meeting. I'd like to, there's no reason why the membership can't listen in, not participate, but possibly listen in to see what's going on, what's happening with the NPA. In other words, trying to open up the NPA to the general membership across the board. If there's sensitive material, it goes into executive session and goes on offline. Just like a Board of Education meeting or a alderman or a councilman meeting or whatever. You know, that's how they do most of that. That's my recommendation.
Sure, we'll definitely discuss that.
Okay, the third item is, historically, I've noticed that when, over the years, the board would make decisions on certain things and items, and it would come out in the meeting minutes, and it would be there for a year or 2, and all of a sudden, those particular items sometimes drift off into the sunset. And a lot of that is because people don't remember what was in the meeting notes and so on and so forth. I would propose to take all our directors meeting or general membership meetings and place them on the website under a maybe members only section, but take them by year, by date, and just put away, like, in 2023, these are the things that we talked about, what we approved, and this is the history, all right? Now, I'm sure we have hard copies of that in the secretary's background. 20, 30 years ago that apply today that, you know, maybe they should be brought up or, you know, again, dealt with. So that's my area, is to put those on the website so that you could actually look them up and research what happens year by year.
Without having to go through quarterly reviews.
Okay. The next one is, directors. The NPA in Myrtle Beach changed, a couple of things. Well, actually, even before Myrtle Beach. We opened up 20 or 30 years ago, we had 8 directors. 8 district directors. We increased that by 2 to 10 district directors. We've changed district directors into directors. Nobody's in charge of the district. A lot of the membership starts, although we have directors in different areas of the country, there's no link necessarily or direct tie to that director in that state, in that area, or whatever. And I know that all the directors try to do what they can in their area, but it's like overkill and, you know, if they do it, great. If they don't do it, nobody knows about it. So, one of the things I would prefer to see is a couple things here. Vice presidents, along with the directors. We have 2 vice presidents, an Eastern and a Western. It seemed like in the old days, when we rotated things around and that, we had 3 vice presidents. And I would prefer to see 3 vice presidents, a Western, a Central, and an Eastern. And this is with discussion with a few other people, so the board can talk about this, but 3 vice presidents increased by 1. But at the same time, directors get changed back to a district director and possibly go from 10 directors down to 6. In other words, 2 directors under each vice president and concentrate on that. You know, the NPA membership in some areas, and people that I've talked to around the country, you know, here, there, and everywhere, but, you know, they feel like they're floundering or not necessarily in touch with some of these. Now, some of the things I've already talked about as far as putting video, you know, and website improvements, that's gonna help. You know, the NPA is a specialty club maybe, and not an all-encompassing club.
Right, I got a question with that. Are these people reaching out to the NPA in any way with this year, or this time of technology? Because I get calls from all around the country and people on Facebook or whatnot.
Right.
So where are the disconnect with these folks, so we get better?
A lot of these, some of the people are not, let's say, that tech, they're older people maybe, not tech
Okay.
savvy. They don't wanna get onto Facebook
What
and
about
hear.
calling?
Some people call you. I know once in a while you get a few irate calls, all right? And maybe a lot of you do, but, you know, there's
But I'm
nothing
just
wrong
saying,
with
are they
calling.
reaching out or do they need that one-on-one care? That's my, I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to get
I
at.
think it's a little bit about both. It's something to talk about.
Okay.
Bring it up in your meetings.
I'm just trying to clarify what you're looking for
Yeah.
and your.
I got people, let's put it under discussion in there, that
Okay.
there's people that, you know, other folks that are NPA members, and I think they would like somebody to say, oh yeah, that guy is my director, not who is my director.
As you know, we have these areas, we have no one that really would be able to fulfill that directorship, but we had a director in name only, and those areas were not getting represented then either.
Right, and that's
So
why.
now, we wanted some people that were actually going to do what a director should, instead of just having a name on a piece of paper, right?
I agree with that.
And we'll
And that's-
definitely discuss.
Yeah,
discuss that.
I'm just saying where
No,
that was coming from.
I
We
remember those
need that.
days, I remember a lot of days where we had sections of the country where it was really tough to get somebody to run.
Right.
All right? Maybe we have to revisit this.
Okay.
The thing that we do now is people wanna be a part of it. I mean, when, like, the names that we have, they wanna be a director. Before, they were just getting voted in, maybe they do something, maybe they wouldn't, but yet, without the system that we have now, we can't do what we do here. Because there's no, if we have a director that's not gonna come, or not gonna participate in helping us put these shows down, then, I mean,
Well, we don't have 10 directors up here right now.
No, 2 people aren't here.
I
but every-
understand, and I
every other
understand
one.
that they have issues or
Yeah,
whatever,
of
that
course.
happens, all right? You know, but historically, having a full house is,
It makes a difference right now.
Yeah, I mean, we had our biggest, probably group of directors here this year in quite some time. And especially, and it made a big difference at setup. So it actually was.
I'd rather you know what's going on behind the doors.
For sure, and we'll definitely look into it. We'll definitely,
All right.
discuss that at our board meeting.
Anyhow, those are my proposals.
Okay.
Now, the last thing is, if you were gonna go with something, right now, you're looking at trying to do what you can to move shows around. I understand the difficulty of putting on a show and where the show is and who's, how you, just what's going on. That's always been an issue, and it still is today, and we're always gonna have those problems. But it is definitely becoming harder to ship birds. I mean, look at the guys from the West Coast, they can't ship them in by air, they can't ship them up in by, posted.
We had a trailer.
They came up
we had a
with their
trailer,
solution.
so.
But I'll tell you, there's a few people that couldn't get up or get into that pool of the trailer coming in, or there's different issues on that.
They all knew they could get in on the West Coast. Everyone recognized.
Anyhow, most people in the NPA would definitely prefer to ship, or to rotate the show sites as much as possible around the country. I think it's something that we've lost because, or we're not necessarily lost, we're starting to lose a little bit. In the last few years have been tough years as far as moving shows around and getting canceled and everything else come up like that.
Locations are getting harder and harder to find.
I understand.
That you can afford.
I mean, the cost of putting on these shows is getting, there's gotta be some way about it. If the dogs can do it, the cats can do it, if the, whatever, the crickets can do it, let's figure out how they're doing it. If it's
I mean, the
raising
poultry guys
fees-
don't do it. They go to Columbus every year for their big show. They have one big show in one spot, and this last year was their biggest show ever. And I had talked to them, to the president, for the poultry, it was, I believe, APA or ABA, I believe
National
APA.
Poultry
And
Association.
they said the best thing they ever did was put it in one spot in Columbus. Everyone knew what to do, and their show grows every year. I think they were over 11,000 last year by using that as their.
So that's not 100% because the American Poultry Association National actually travels around. Individual shows actually bid on it every year.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually is not in Columbus every year. This
Okay.
year it was, but it actually travels around, and the BAM Association does the same thing.
Is there something in Columbus every year that they?
Yeah,
Yes,
the
sure.
Grand
Maybe that's who
the
I talked
Ohio
to.
National is
May
there
not have
every
been
year
an APA.
regardless.
Okay.
But the American Poultry Association Grand National Meet travels every year.
Okay, I had talked to someone from that Columbus.
Yeah, no, that show is there every year, and that's one of the
That-
biggest shows in the country,
Yeah,
but
that's-
the national.
That's like talking to the
Larry?
young person.
John, this show this year should solidify the fact that moving to areas where you have weather potential like we just had here, I mean, we've just proven why it works better not to go to Portland or not to go to
The snow belt.
Northeast, Northwest, Milwaukee. I mean, when we see what a little bit of weather does to a show that should have been relatively clear,
Right.
you know, it rains hell on it.
Right.
And getting here, you know, haven't talked to anybody that hadn't had issues getting here. Well, if it was in Milwaukee, or if it was in Portland, or if it was in, you know, everybody would have that issue every time.
Correct.
I mean, that's why this was done in the first place, to avoid those kind of anomalies that come up at the last second that destroy shows.
Right.
Well, let's all move to Florida.
I'd be for that.
We got it tweeted central, so we can't make it easy. Is that good? Yes.
Yeah,
shows that feed into national shows that move throughout the country. That's what the NPA should be doing, is supporting regional shows economically to find bigger show halls, providing more support for specialty clubs to come to more regional shows that are larger. That's where people connect with show breeds and with suppliers, which is part of how we are able to afford our hobby.
Right.
Well, the last thing I need to say is, it's really frustrating to hear you guys talk about the need for representation, but refuse to take any nominations for director today. In that sense, that's a problem. You shouldn't have the right to pick who gets to run for director just amongst yourselves. You should have the right in this club to run for director without having to come to any of you to get approval to run. Now, anyone could have run for president or vice president today, but I think that's disturbing that you wouldn't take nominations from the floor for director. You took it for those two positions. There's no reason why you wouldn't want someone who wants to run, which you just said you had trouble finding.
No, not.
You said you had trouble with people who wanted to be active and wanted to be part of it. But you don't want to take nominations from the floor for any other position but those two. You just did that today when Greg said that he'd like to nominate someone for director. You said no. That's wrong.
Well, we have to follow the Constitution.
Well, you should follow the Constitution in the sense of having some equity and representation, or the Constitution that you've made public to the membership, which you're not doing either. Under that Constitution, it's unfortunate that actually the one posted on the website today, accessible to the entire membership of this club, and here right now, it says that you would take nominations from the floor for every position that's up for election. And you would have held the election last year, which you unilaterally stopped because there was no national.
Well, there was
That's
no
a problem. You don't have the unilateral right to decide how the governance of this group is done. You have to follow the governing documents that are required by the club and are approved by the club. You don't have the right. Notice to the membership, other than the cancellation of the national in 2023, that you would suspend the elections that were scheduled in 2023. So that's a real problem and my concern. I hear a few people talk about people wanting to be active, people wanting to be part of the club, people wanting to be part of the directorship. Well, the choices you've made already in this meeting is actually to limit who gets to be part of the directorship, who has access to it, and that's wrong. It's wrong to do that. If someone wants to run, they should have a process to run that doesn't go through you individually or as a group. There should be a regular way, like we have in every other electoral politics in our country, a fair and reasonable way for people who want to be part of our governance to run. For you to say no is wrong. And I honestly believe if you had changed those things in the Constitution to provide you the power to choose who runs or who doesn't run, which is what you said today, then you should publish that to the membership in the quarterly.
It was.
Why hasn't the Constitution been published since you made the changes in Myrtle Beach in its entirety in any form? It hasn't been published in any quarterly or on the website since you changed it. And when was the Myrtle Beach National?
2019.
2019.
5 years ago. You've had 5 years to do that as an organization. Why have you not done that?
Slipped our minds.
That's unfortunate.
It sure is.
You didn't slip your mind to refuse nominations for director today, did it?
Follow the Constitution.
I mean,
The one
I mean,
that's not published or accessible.
everything you're saying, you make good points. That's why you should run for office.
I tried, but you wouldn't take my nomination.
And you can take.
I don't want your nomination. I want to run for director, but you wouldn't let me. Thank you.
Do one better.
No, it's
I
okay.
mean, because if you're vice president, you got more pull. I mean, I mean, look, everybody can jump.
This is one of the reasons why the information being fed to the website is the most readily available, and we can archive what we've been doing over the year, 2 years, 5 years. Some of that stuff, and we need to, basically, what's going on in these record meetings, board meetings, you know, it's updated.
Was it an oversight on our part? Absolutely. We're admitting it. We didn't get changed on the website. And then we take full responsibility for that. I mean, we will get it changed, and we'll even talk about what you're saying about, taking it forward, nominations from the floor. We'll discuss that. But I mean, it doesn't do any good for you to nominate somebody that, I'll take it, I ain't got nothing better to do. You know what I mean? We had a whole bunch of, and you know, Greg, years of that, of just people just going, yeah, I'll take it, just to take it. But we need people.
Just to plug a hole.
But it doesn't provide you guys the right to limit who runs though. Just because you had concerns in the past, doesn't mean that you should have the right, the uncontrolled right, the unfettered right, to choose who gets to run when.
This
and for what
has
office.
been the thing is, everybody has complained before, is the NPA should take a bigger role in their own convention. Take a bigger part, take bigger steps, get more involved. So when we do that, now we get backlash that now we do too much. Now we're doing our own thing, and we're not doing what we said we were supposed to do.
We made a wholesale change 2019. Did a lot of revamping. All right? Now we need to do some tweaking and revisit a couple of statements or way things are worded or what's going on. So we need to maybe roll back or modify or take a look at this.
Okay, what's wrong with the show? I mean,
We're not talking about that.
I'm just saying, but this is what the NPA is all about, is it not?
The definition of the club is clearly to support the hobby in showing, keeping, and flying pigeons, not solely one show. It is the support of the hobby in its entirety, and that is a concern that I have.
We've donated money for trailers for clubs. We've donated money for clubs that couldn't afford to put on their show that needed help. We've done all. It's all in
That's the right thing to do.
And that's what we do.
It's good.
We've offered to a lot of the major shows, be it Louisville, Des Moines, Pageant. A lot of the major shows we've supported financially. We don't go around bragging about it and bragging about it, but they know that they can count on us.
John, it's counterproductive to decide 1 year to do this, and then next year, oh, well, we didn't really want to do that after all, let's change it back the way it was. And then the next year, oh, well, we didn't really mean to do that, let's change it back the way it was. We need to stick on what we did in 2019. Maybe it needs to be discussed, absolutely it needs to be refined in the Constitution on the website. But changing back and forth because somebody doesn't like the way it was done is counterproductive to the entire running of the NPA.
I was there and voted for that amendment. I think it's a good deal.
And there was a lot of members, more members in here at Myrtle Beach that voted for it.
Well, I mean, that's why we have these general membership meetings. But we'll definitely take all concerns into consideration in our board meetings. I do appreciate you pointing out that our website isn't up to date. We will definitely get on that, and I do apologize. It isn't just that one thing that was changed in the Constitution. Show rules were changed and a few other things. We will definitely get that taken care of. Anything else?
This meeting is getting so exciting, I've got to throw some more oil on the fire.
Thanks. Stand up for this. This is gonna be good.
Coming down to the show, in the last couple of days, I had 3 people that I wanted to meet from Iowa, from New Mexico, another part of the Midwest. All 3 of those people canceled out because of weather. I want to ask you, who knows why the National is held in January? Why?
Birds are in the best show condition, complete mold.
Biologically best for the
I may have told you this story.
You've told me the answer.
I told you the story.
So I know.
Many years ago, when I was a young man, I asked Frank Hallman the first president of an NPA about discussing that.
There is, obviously, when the pageant is held, that's not our job.
I mean, far as somebody that organizes and talks to these things, whenever they started in January, I know it was just an accident, but it is absolutely the best time and that we can get the best prices on facilities and everything that we need in January, because there's nothing going on in January. December, you got, you know, November, you got all these holidays and you got all this stuff, all these Christmas parties. That's probably two of the worst times to start trying to shop around looking for.
Travel expenses in
Yeah.
November. right
Bob, look
before
what
the-
happened in the National Young Bird Show this year.
Some entries.
We'll definitely
Keep
discuss
going
it.
in
But
January.
you know as well as I do,
We
Bob.
had 250 birds come from California, and I don't know if Bobby Corrales will drive through that weather again.
But you also know that there's people show me pictures of stuff they drove through. Pigeon guys are relentless to get to a pigeon show. They will do whatever it takes. They'll drive on a flat tire and they know they should go home, but they turn around and keep going. They will figure a way to get to a pigeon show.
Roger?
To help with Bob's thing, I lived on the West Coast my whole life. I could raise pigeons in January and February. This year, I mated up my birds in May, because we had such a bad winter, and if any here, because they're not gonna have any feathers in that short a time. And so, in the Midwest, it's all the other different program here, because generally I start mating up in March, and towards the end of March, well, I breed into November and December just to get pigeons.
Right.
Because our whole breeding line, time-wise, is just changed.
Well, I will
And
say
it's
this.
not like East and West Coast.
January, you haven't started breeding for the most part, and all your young birds are done. What better time? I mean, if you wait till, if you're earlier, you know, you've gotta start breeding earlier to have young birds ready for earlier. I think about the National Young Bird Show. You know, you show half your birds there because the other half are too young. You have to wait till the National. January, all that's done, and you haven't really put your birds together breed
Wood
yet.
shavings.
You know, if you wait a little later than that, then your birds are mated, they're all meat to hell, you can't do anything with them, so. I don't know, it's like,
Okay, well, there's some issues about what Bob said, but what he said was out of the box thinking. Hey, if this don't work, how about this, or this? You know, he's got a lot of history behind him.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of history behind him. Let's, you know, why that, why this, let's kick it around. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't work, you know.
I haven't even.
We're writing down,
Flag design.
Tim is writing down everything for the board to discuss in the coming year. I mean, we have over 5,800 birds entered here. Like I said, a couple hundred probably won't make it due to different things, not all weather. There's been some other issues that people have let us know. So I mean, the numbers are continuously increasing on our national. It seems to be. We've been over 5,000
The
for the
membership's
past
increasing.
4 years. Yeah, our membership is going up. So but we do appreciate all the concerns. Is there anything else? John?
I was speaking with Bob Nolan here in the last week or so about doing selling some of my, putting up a table, selling some art and matted prints. And I was telling him about putting up my display and saying that I was gonna. I spoke to you earlier today.
Yeah,
I would welcome you to go over and have a look at it.
We will.
And I would be, if they're interested, I can show
Is this
people
an
how to
ad?
take it apart, how to put it together, and you can see, the advantages of that. Because you have the trailer, you have
Right,
the
right.
cages, you can put something in there.
Yeah,
and
we'll
haul it around.
We'll definitely go look at it. Anything else?
This may be an issue of the Constitution bylaws not being updated on the website, but recently, someone was asking me about how to create a specialty club. And I talked to them about Constitution bylaws, judging standards, and things like that, and that they should affiliate, if they get to ever do this, affiliate with the NPA, and I would imagine you would require all those things. They looked at the website and said, no, all you gotta do is pay $20 and you're an affiliated club with no requirements of showing bylaws or constitution or anything.
There has never been requirements that way, but that's definitely something we should write down.
Anyway,
Now, you have to have, that club has to be in existence for 3 years before it can hold a meet with the Grand National.
Right, but what does existence mean?
Well, you're right.
But John, that was to qualify or be accepted as a special.
Yeah, exactly.
You have
That
to,
was
you
to
have
even
to
be
exhibit
considered, yeah.
for 3 years as
Well,
non-recognized
I'm
club.
not sure that bylaws is that clear on that.
No, but that came up 10, 20 years ago.
yeah, we had that issue.
I mean, the old German Owls used to be, for rare breeds, there used to be,
The movies were rare breeds.
there was a whole bunch of them.
I'm suggesting for someone starting a specialty club, there is no guidance as to, other than this kind of history of 3 years. The bylaws do not really spell out that the NPA requires you to show your constitution or that you have members or anything else.
I completely agree with you.
I think that we just ought to assume or take it for granted that any club started up, come up with their own bylaws and their own rules and everything like that.
I definitely agree with you.
I think that's an
We
assumption.
should change,
Yeah.
we
That
should
would be the-
add some more not recommendations.
I've never belonged to a club that said, well, we don't have anything, you just give me some money and we're done.
Well, I get those calls from time to time. People say they want to start a club. The thing is, it sounds like you're talking about a specialty club for breeds. We have other clubs that are local clubs that affiliate with us, because we have some benefits for them, as well. And so, usually when somebody calls me and asks that, they say, well, what's required? I ask them for, do you have a constitution? Do you have officers, things like that? I would like a list of your officers, so I know who to contact,
And that
so
makes
we know who to
sense,
talk
but
to.
it's not required.
Yeah, we should spell it out.
It should be spelled out, and we should have guidelines for that.
And I'm sure since 1920.
That's something I always ask them for, so that we have a club. But you know as well as I do, a lot of these local clubs, they may be in existence this week and out of existence next week. So, get some of that.
John, is this the correct time for the award?
No, not quite. We're gonna adjourn the meeting and then, is there anything else before we adjourn? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
Paul Kelly, second. Okay, all in favor? Okay, opposed? Really quick, so we adjourned the official meeting. Bob Nolan is going to make a quick award ceremony to someone who's done a lot of work for the NPA. The award is from the LAPC. Let Bob, if you would, go ahead with that.
Well, I'm over one tonight. I want to thank you, Ed, that was the one reason I hadn't considered the amount of available space and the amount of time. I think there's some validity in both sides of it. In 2020, you honored me at the Amarillo show for my work on the NPA history book. And unfortunately, at that time, my cohort that did probably as much work as I did, just in a little different area, was unable to attend. So we're going to make it right. This is not a cheap black gang. This was named by the Los Angeles Pigeon Club in what we call our Court of Honor, and Tom McKay. I want to read to you the inscription, and I think most of you will already know about what services he's provided for #1, the NPA, Los Angeles Pigeon Club, and the pigeon hobby in general. The Tom McKay Court of Honor, presented by the Los Angeles Pigeon Club for the merit James Jenner, Wendell Levi, Dick Hammer. Gary is a multi-talented individual excelling in pigeon art, standard drawings, layout, and page design. He is the editor of the NPA Quarterlies, the NPA Standard Book, and the book designer of the Centennial History. He was instrumental in the publication of John Hefner's recent book, A Pageantry of Pigeons. Gary is the bulletin editor for the United Swallow Club, the designer and editor for the Pageant of Pigeons show catalog. He generously is an annual contributor to the pigeon art at the LAPC Super Auction. In the area of pigeon breeding, he's credited with recreating the Saxon field pigeon in America and introducing the Archangel color into the breed. He is a certified judge for the United Swallow Club and has traveled to Germany in search of artistic knowledge and insight for his artwork on color pigeons. All of these skills, talents, and attributes add up to him being an elite member of the Tom McKay Court of Honor. That's why it's a plaque. This man has done a lot of things. Let's give him a hand. On the NPA history book, this man photoshopped 1,600 photographs for me. That was a lot of work.